All right. Welcome to Talk Time Life Unscripted. Today we are now streaming live. So we are so happy that you've joined us. If you're new here, I'm Ken, and my co host is Keisha. And today marks the first of many more live streams that we'll be bringing to you right here on the channel. All of our live streams will be recorded, so you can go back and watch the full episodes at any time. Today, we are going to be kicking things off with something that kind of hits close to home for everybody, which is saving money during tough economic times. So, we're going to be bringing to you 10 practical tips to cut costs, help you keep more money in your pocket, and all of these things are stuff that you can start working on today. So, a quick little backstory. A few months ago, both Keisha and I were laid off. And like many others, we suddenly had to figure out how to make every single dollar stretch. If you feel like your money's disappearing faster than you can earn it, you are not alone because during these hard economic times, every dollar counts. And today we'll be diving into these smart, simple hacks to help you stretch your budget without losing your mind. So, if really quickly, if you are enjoying our show, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and most of all, hit that notification bell so that you get notified the next time we go live on our next live stream. And your support truly means a lot to us. So don't forget to hit that comment, like, and subscribe button. As we are live, and if other people are joining us live, you can also use the chat if you have questions that come up during the live event. So use that chat function as well. All right. With that said, let's jump into this key and get things started. Just for everyone's awareness as well, my sister is joining us. I call her the queen of couponing because she is she knows how to make every single dollar count. And I asked her to jump on with us today and kind of share her tips as well. So, welcome, Tamisi, to the live stream.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, the first tip that we're going to go through, let me get to my notes 1 second. The first tip we're going to get into is tracking every dollar. So you need to, in tracking every dollar that you spend, it's easier said than done. But one of the key point components here is that you kind of really need to just know where your money is going. There are people out there that say, you can track using cash apps to monitor where you spend. But me personally, I like to kind of just put things in a spreadsheet because I'm not too keen on putting all of my information out there on some of these apps because you don't really know. But I don't know, Keisha, what about you? Do you use cash apps to track your expenses? What are
Right,
ways, what
Kenneth.
are some money
So,
saving tips that
you
you
look
use?
at, yeah, you look at your monthly debit card bill from your bank account, right? And when you take the time to look through that, you see that okay, me going to get coffee every day, something as simple as coffee, but me going to get a cup of coffee every day over the course of a month, that really adds up.
It does.
Um, I know even when we were working, even when you look at how much you're spending for lunch, over a course of time, that really, really adds up. $10 here, $5 there, at the end of the month, you realize that, you could potentially be spending $100 on just lunch.
Yeah.
And during
Yeah.
these times, it's really important to kind of get better about how we budget, our expenses every month.
Yeah, I think some people, like I did read an article that said something like, track every single thing you spend by putting that in a spreadsheet, like even the $2 coffee, the $3 coffee, because if you do that over the course of a month or two, it really helps you know where you're spending money where you don't have to. Like, I can't remember the last time I went to Starbucks because, I just ain't got Starbucks money right now. $3, $4, even more if for some of the other specialty drinks. I just don't have that kind of money to spend on things like that. So, but if you do that, make sure you're tracking it, because I think that's a good way to help understand where your money is going. And I think that that's the bottom line is that especially if you're trying to save money, put money in savings. You need to find out where you're wasting your money. So, which is why it's important to track. But the cash apps, you don't use those at all?
Can I explain
I
to you what I do?
Yeah, absolutely. Tamisi, do you use the cash app?
I do and I don't. But what I was going to say, how I keep track of everything I do, whenever I go somewhere, I ask for a receipt afterwards. So
Mm-hmm.
that way, sometimes it's just harder to keep track of it and go back into your debit log because there's so many different transactions. But if you have that receipt, then you actually have it in black and white. And then there are apps that you can go back and scan those receipts onto to actually get some credit or different incentives to scan those receipts. So that's
Oh,
another way of having, what you spent. You actually see it in black and white.
that's a good tip, because I hadn't, I mean, I always get my receipts, but then I typically just toss them in the bin once I get home and unpack everything, or unless it's a big purchase, I keep it. But that's a good way to kind of start with tracking those expenses. Is that every time you get something, if you're out and you get a coffee, make sure you keep the receipt, start a little, a log of all of that, and use that to help track your expenses, because then you're going to have it, like you said, in black and white, knowing where your money's going. That's a really good tip. Yeah, thanks
And
for sharing that.
also, I do use Cash App because Cash App actually has a part of it where there's an incentive where you can go and pick different merchants and you actually save if you use that debit card that is linked to your Cash App. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's another way of you can save on top of using Cash App if you use your because you get a virtual Cash App card and you can get a physical one actually in the mail as well. And so if you link your checking account or banking account up to that Cash App, but you can go and specifically use that Cash App card, and there are different merchants, and everybody's account has different ones, and it kind of goes along with what they know you use.
Mhm.
And so you can get additional savings on top of that.
Oh, okay. Well, so it's funny because I was looking at something the other day. Like I said, I have not really ever used any cash apps, but one of the ones that I was thinking about is the one that where what's it called, Upside or something like that, where you save money on your gas. I had read some stuff on that it was actually really legit, and you could actually
Yeah,
save money using that
it's
app.
a
But
legit app. I just couldn't comprehend it, and there's the service stations that you're able to qualify to save on is very limited. So I
uh,
use another gas station because I can save up to $1 off a gallon.
oh, okay, all
So
right.
you have
Well,
to
we'll have
just
to
do
check
your
out.
homework on which one is best for you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's worth investigating the cash apps, seeing which ones are legit and what they offer.
Mhm.
But
Oh, and
yeah,
then
that's
let
a
me
good tip.
tell you this on Cash App. Even on Cash App, if there's a portion where you can put it into savings, it helps you save. And then actually it will give you earnings back at the end of the month. Like I made like maybe 15 cents the end of last month. It's not much, but it will add up over time.
Okay. All right. That's a very good tip. Thank you for sharing that. Keisha, anything else from you on the cash apps before we move on to tip two?
Yeah, so I use Upside, and
Oh,
it definitely does work for me. You just
okay.
have to kind of plan your trips to the gas station. If you know that you're going to be in a certain area, you can kind of scan that area to locate the best deals for your gas purchase. So it
Okay.
works for me when I remember to use it, of course. But yeah, it definitely works for
That's the
me.
hard part.
Yeah, that's the biggie.
Yeah, that's the hard part. So, when it comes to saving on gas, I think that, because I don't use the cash apps, what I do is I use I look through my credit cards and see which one gives me the best cash back on the credit card for gas. And typically, and so I have a little notepad in my phone because I always forget which one gives me the most percentage of cash back. So I always, when I go to the gas store, I look at my card and say, okay, wait, this one's going to give me the most, and I use that card. And some of the credit cards I have the incentives change month over month. So some months I can save 3% on gas, some months I can save 5% on gas. So I always have to kind of just track it to see which one, and I use that. But if I started using the Cash App with the Upside app, I could potentially save even more. So yeah, good points. All right, so that moves us on to tip number two, which is cutting those unnecessary expenses. Um, there are so many things that we, spend money on. Mainly like for me, the especially after Lakeisha and I were laid off. The first thing I did was this: I went through all of my streaming services and started canceling everything, and utilizing saving money basically, and the money that I was saving on those subscriptions I was putting in a savings account because just redirecting those funds because I was already spending it, but by cutting them I was able to save, and that can add up. I mean, some of these streaming services are $20 a month. If you go like ad free, it's even more. So, and if you think you've got, all of the 4 or 5 streaming services that you're using, that can add up over a month. So, like I said, the first thing I did was I went through, and the crazy thing is that when you talk about the streaming services, you can have all of these different ones. But what we found out is that we were um, not even watching everything that was on them. So I just ended up having to decide which one was the one that we watched the most, and then pretty much canceling the other ones. So yeah, I don't know, Keisha, what's your thoughts on the cutting those unnecessary expenses?
Yeah, I've found that a lot of the streaming services, they're starting to bundle different products, right? So, you're paying for one channel, you're paying for this channel, and you're doing it separately. And then, you don't really realize that, oh, I'm paying twice. So, just kind of pay attention to whether or not you've purchased a bundle.
Yeah,
um, just for example, Disney Paramount Max, right? Let's just say you are paying for Max on another different platform. So that's a way to kind of cut back on your spending. Just pay attention if you've purchased a bundle. Just look at your other subscriptions and make sure you're not paying twice.
yeah,
We,
I look at
we
mine pretty
we
regularly.
actually found ourselves doing that.
Yeah, I did too. So
I
that's fun.
have some key points on that.
Sure.
So I have an app that is linked to my debit card, and every transaction it gives you some form of points to get to be able to order get a gift card. So um, one of my services that one of my streaming services is linked to that card, so I get points for that. And then also you have to look for deals with that because every what's the day after Thanksgiving that they have all those sales?
Black Friday.
Okay, well, every Black Friday they have Hulu for 99 cents a month. Oh, they run a deal, so I make sure that I, get change that up every Black Friday. Hulu is 99 cents for a month for a year, which
What?
is great. Yes.
See, I'm learning some stuff today.
Right.
I did not know that. Why have you not told me that?
I mean, I didn't know that you needed that because you
Right.
didn't know. I remember I tried to tell you about that app and you was like, "Oh, I don't have time."
Yeah, well, yeah, that was before. Now I kind of have the time and I need to do
And so,
that.
and also because I have a 17-year-old, she loves DoorDash, but we get Cinemax for a year.
Okay.
So it was beneficial for us to pay for DoorDash for a whole year because it really came in handy the way she does DoorDash. And so I've just found different things to be able to compensate for those streaming services.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So, and same. Anything else, Keisha, from you on the cutting unnecessary expenses?
Yeah, I think this will actually kind of lead us into the next topic. I noticed, so I started using Instacart quite a bit. And I noticed that the charges with Instacart, the delivery charges and, additional surcharges that they put on there, I looked at the membership of Instacart. And for me, it just made more sense to go ahead and pay for the membership. That way I
Hmm.
can save on the delivery fees. And
Right.
if you use Instacart as often as I do, my household, the subscription pays for itself in about a month.
Yeah.
So that for me, that was a really good benefit, and I noticed that I was saving money when using Instacart and using that subscription service for Instacart.
Yeah, very good, very true. It makes me think as well because I know when we were working full time, I had a number of credit cards, and again, this is something that people can look into themselves. But one of the benefits of one of my credit cards is that um, I get a monthly allowance for streaming services. And so basically now, because I've gone through all of my streaming services, I basically get Hulu every month for free because my credit card gives me a cash back every single month. So when Hulu charges me, I get a cash back from on my credit card because they pay for my, a certain amount up to, a certain allowance for monthly subscriptions. And if you have low monthly subscriptions, you can you can use, if you have, if your credit card allows that, you can have multiple ones that you can, have put on your credit card. But then you get the cash back every month on that. So that's one of the ways that I save. And then I ended up getting Paramount Plus for free as well because my credit card offered me a free Walmart Plus card. And so I signed up for the Walmart Plus card, which by the way, if you have a Walmart Plus, you can save money on gas. Silly me. I still have not used that. I need to. But um, I did find that so now I have Hulu for free and I get Paramount Plus for free. And then I got a little thing in the mail the other day, which is kind of fun because, at one point we were watching Showtime, but then because I canceled all my subscriptions, we had to get rid of the Showtime because we just, couldn't afford it. And so I got this thing in the mail the other day that during the first week of this month, they were running a special. And so I get Paramount Plus for free already, but then they offered a free subscription to add on the Showtime. So now I get my Showtime for 6 months for free. So now Jeffrey and I are binge watching stuff on Showtime
Hey,
because
so
we
Kenneth,
get it for 6 months.
Jeffrey just said something about Rocket Money, but Rocket Money is not good because they charge you $10 for them to monitor how you spend your money.
Oh, let me see. I see. Yeah, he put something in the chat there. So,
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you this, but this is what I mean. This works for me. So, like, because Haley is a student, like, I get Amazon half price just because she is a student. And then if you get any type of government benefits, they will give you Amazon half price. And we shop on Amazon quite frequently, so that helps us getting it half price. So we're able to watch the movies, and listen to the music. And one thing for me, like if I use my debit card anywhere, I think my bank gives me so many allotment spots to use it to pull money out because
mhm.
sometimes you just need cash. And so I've utilized that where I go to certain banks that are linked to my card, so I don't have that extra ATM charge, and they will give me I think up to per month. Where even if I go to an ATM that's outside of the network, they will reimburse that fee.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Any
Yeah,
any
I
little thing helps.
Yeah, I see Jeffrey's comment there, guys. What about taking apps like like Rocket Money to find subscriptions? Yeah, true. That's very true. I had thought about doing that once before, but then, I'm kind of really good at tracking the monthly expenses. So I thought, and I'm pretty, and plus I've gotten really good at making sure that I read my credit card statement every month.
Right.
So I don't really use that Rocket Money. Um,
But I could
because of
utilize that
unplugging.
$10 somewhere else though.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, so that takes us into our next topic, which is meal
Jeffrey,
planning and saving money at the grocery store. You know, groceries.
I'm gonna tell you the main thing. Do not go to the grocery store hungry.
Yeah, you told me that. Yes, you had an experience with that or something, didn't you?
Man, I'm always hungry, and also people don't understand that it's best to try to keep the kids at home because the grocery store is designed for those children to whine and pull stuff when you're getting ready to check out, and yeah, so it's just designed to get for you to buy those overpriced things that are at the register that you do not need.
Yeah, especially my weakness is when they have those candy bars. You know, buy three get two free. You know, or buy two
That's
get three.
everybody's weakness,
I'm like, oh wait, I get three for free. Come on. But then that I had to stop doing that because that kind of those candies kind of added a little
right?
belly there. So I got to
And
stop
then
doing
it's always good to go in with a plan and to know the layout of the grocery store
that. Mm.
and to have a your list. Sometimes you kind of go off you know you may not stay with that list or whatever. But if you do a meal prep and you know everything that you need, like go through your cabinets, make sure that you have this and have that. It just makes it easier when you go to the store and you don't get receipt shock when you get ready to check out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Lakeisha, what tips do you have on grocery shopping?
So for me, I've learned that a lot of the grocery stores, when I'm actually in the grocery store, a lot of the grocery stores now have their own app where you're able to click
Yes.
digital coupons while you're shopping. So a lot of times I may, if I know that I'm going to that particular store, I'll check out
Oh,
their app, see what digital coupons are available based on my list, um, and shop that way.
okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I noticed that the other day, which I had never done. I was in I can't remember which grocery store I was in, and so first of all, I started saving my weekly those weekly store circulars that we get in the mail. I started saving those. I started looking at the coupons. I started seeing who had the best deals on meats or whatever I needed or from my list. But I went to one of the grocery stores and I saw in the circular that, oh, save this much money. And then I got in the store and it was like, well, but it said digital coupon. I'm like, what digital coupon? And so in the store, I literally was downloading the app so that I could clip the digital coupon because I'm like, I want my savings. But then I started noticing that at other grocery stores. So I think a lot of grocery stores are doing that. Maybe to drive online sales or online traffic, but I do notice that a lot of stores are now doing that whole clip a digital coupon, which forces you to download their app, and then but there are some big savings if you do that. So yeah,
Also, you have to be aware of buying stuff just because you see a good deal. Do not buy it if you do not need it. It's just going to sit up.
yeah,
That
very
that's a rule of thumb as well. But then also, as far as this was going to go back on to what Miss Keisha was saying, as far as the apps, like the store I have here in my hometown, you can actually have a paper coupon and you can use your digital coupon. You just have to know that store's policy with the coupons and see what they will allow and what they will not allow. Because you can, and then there's a part on the, I go to Kroger's and there's a part on the app at Kroger's where not only do you attach a digital coupon, but they have money back where they will put it into a PayPal account for you.
So Jeffrey put something in the chat. I'm gonna show it here. Macy, I used Unidays for discounts while I was there in school. Always good to know for parents whose kids are in college. What is that, Jeffrey? Do you mind? What is Unidays? Is that an app?
No, it's just a website where you can put your where you can register with your university email, so an email address that ends up with edu, and then that gives you discounts like Apple Music at half price. So
Oh,
you know, um, it's good. Always good to know if you want to save a few bucks
Thank
Oh,
on your
you.
subscriptions.
Keisha, you got
There's
kids
more
in college.
deals, but
Yeah.
I would encourage everyone to go and check it out.
Yeah, Keisha, you got kids in college. Maybe that's something that you can look at for them. Those
Oh
university
yes,
discounts. Every little bit helps.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know she had kids in college. Yeah, there are most companies reach out to veterans. They reach out to teachers. They reach out to EMS workers, students. There are always discounts for different categories.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
yeah. I'm going to interject there since we're talking about savings. There's another area where the household usually spends quite a lot of money, and it's healthcare. Um, and so, as a nurse, I know where my patients are spending or can spend a significant amount of money, and it's usually labs. Um, and what I do is that I refer them to, for those who don't have, you know, sufficient coverage for labs, I send them to anylabs.com. And that allows them to, do the labs we need for, um, to monitor their health and the likes of it.
That's a good tip. Yeah, that kind of goes back to cutting those unnecessary expenses. So, when you talk about,
Mhm.
trying to save money all the way around, healthcare is a huge cost for a lot of people. I did not put that in our tip, so that's something that we can pick up and add more details on later about, the healthcare industry and insurance and things like that. That's a very good point. So, but yeah, there's always different ways that sometimes insurance won't cover. If I think what you're saying, Jeffrey, is that sometimes insurance won't cover certain, lab
Labs.
work. Yeah, and you can go to another place where you can actually get that lab work done much cheaper. Yeah.
Can I add
Yeah.
this? So also, with different, like, okay, so I shop at Kroger's. If you go get prescriptions filled, you can get points for prescriptions filled. They give you so many points on the dollar, and that helps with saving gas. And then also, you can download GoodRx, and there are
Ooh,
coupons
yes.
for you to help save with medication.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
And
do use GoodRx a lot. So yes, because some of the medications that we have, we old folks over here, so we got lots of pills.
We all.
Some of them aren't covered under the insurance, and we go to one of the local grocery stores and use GoodRx and get it for like way cheaper than what we would have paid, through a pharmacy. So yeah.
Misa, you're bringing
And
a good point. Medications are actually a big have a big impact on the household's finances, and this is what I tell my patients: use every resources that there is, you know, that are available.
Right.
And one of the things that you mentioned is GoodRx coupon. That's a very good one. Not everyone, unfortunately, is aware about it. Even those who have good PPO insurances should check it out. Um, you may be prescribed a drug that actually will cost you more, even with good coverage. So if you feel that medication is too high, is too expensive, I would tell people just check it out on GoodRx, and then your nurse, your physician can always send you to another pharmacy where it's cheaper with that coupon, and you go as just as a cash patient. The other thing I would tell people as well is always go and check out the manufacturer's coupon, their saving cards. Um, there are grants, there are multiple programs. There's Mark Cuban's pharmacy. Go and check it out. Go and check where you can save some money, because healthcare is getting, is expensive, and it's probably going to get more expensive. So
Yeah, definitely.
um, we need to do our due diligence.
Yeah, very good point, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for adding for bringing that up. Much good advice there. So I think when it comes to saving money at the grocery store, my sister, who we've labeled the queen of couponing here, she has so many tips and things on how to save money couponing. I think she mentioned earlier you can stack coupons, using the coupons that you get in your circulars, on top of digital coupons. So make sure you take advantage of those because it's like double savings. You can also, make sure that you are not going to the grocery store hungry, and making sure that you also have your list. I think one thing that I heard, and then we'll move on to the next topic, is that um, make sure that you clean your refrigerator every week. And by doing that, you kind of know what you've got and then make your list based on that. Plan your meals out for the week. Buy in bulk if you can, and, do bulk meals so that you're making, when you make your dinner, make sure you make enough that's left over so you can have lunch tomorrow. I know that's something we do all the time, is using those leftovers for lunch. So I think we're having leftovers today, as a matter of fact. Those are some really good points on saving money at the grocery store. Keisha, anything else from you on that before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Jeffrey was saying about prescription drugs. Sometimes, when you're going to the doctor, sometimes asking the doctor, sometimes they have the pharmacy discount cards or the prescription discount cards where for a period of time you're able to get a discount off of, whatever medication that's being prescribed. Um, Again, going to the manufacturer's website, sometimes they offer some type of discount code when ordering prescriptions. So that's all I wanted to add.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
very good.
forgot this, Kenneth. Also, because I have an inhaler called Trilogy, and without insurance, it's $800. But the pharmaceutical sales rep come to the doctors. They leave samples, and if you ask that doctor, "Hey, can I get a sample?" They're willing to give it out because that's the whole purpose of that
Yeah.
pharmaceutical sales rep coming to that doctor's office. They're pushing that drug.
Yeah, very true. Good points. Good points, guys. All right, so let's move on to tip number 4, which is lowering your monthly bills. I know this is something that we all can do practice on. So I'll start by saying that one thing that I've heard many years ago, and I try to do this, but sometimes we're all bad at it, is to make sure that if you're not using an appliance or it's something that you use just occasionally, unplug it, because anything that's plugged in is drawing electricity. So, even when you're charging your phone and you leave your little charger plugged in, that's drawing electricity. And some people don't realize or don't know that every little thing that's plugged in, whether you're using it or not, it's still pulling some kind of electricity. I mean, and we're talking, we're not talking like thousands of dollars in savings in doing that, but it is something that can still help you save some money when you talk about lowering your expenses. Also making sure that you turn off your lights and unplug different electronics, and make sure this is the hardest part for our household over here, is keeping that thermostat set on a even temperature, because every time you change the thermostat, you're drawing more electricity. But if you keep it on, the find a medium point for everybody. But if you find that sweet spot, try your best to leave it there so that you aren't lowering up, changing the thermostat quite often, because every time you do, that's certainly going to pull on your electricity bill as well. So, Keisha, any cost saving tips from your household on lowering the monthly bills?
Well, look, I have children and young adults here, so it's constantly reminding them turn off the light. If you are not in the room, turn the light off. Or, you know, so here where we are, it tends to get really hot in the summertime. So
Ooh,
right now we're kind of in that soft spot to where you can open your blinds and get some of that natural sunlight without having to turn the light switch on. So
Yes.
um,
Yes.
another thing is, making sure that, sometimes when you're going in and out of the refrigerator or the freezer, just being mindful that that door is closed all the way so that it's sealed. So you're not losing any, you're not overworking your refrigerator or your freezer. Another
That's
thing,
definitely a mom tip there because yeah, because I can see the kids. So I mean, I remember when we were kids, we'd stand there in the refrigerator and look for 30 minutes, decide on what snack we wanted. So very true.
and then the other thing, making sure that water faucet is all the way off.
Mm,
Sometimes you'll see that trickle of water, it adds up. It definitely adds up, especially now, everyone's, even the outside faucet, you're watering your plants or
yeah.
maybe washing your car. So just making sure that that valve is turned off so that you're not getting that trickle of water.
Yeah, I had a good experience that lesson learned the hard way, we say, when it comes to that. And so I have sprinklers. And so last year my water bill was crazy. So this year I'm like, okay, I got to save money on watering the grass. So sometimes, my plants, I just do it by hand rather than the sprinkler system. But last year I was running my sprinklers, pretty regularly because where we are, it gets very hot in the summer and you're in the sun and the heat will kill your plants. So I was running it pretty regularly, and I realized that one of my sprinkler heads was actually broken, and I had been running it all summer, and that was money down the drain because that sprinkler head was just not watering anything. It was just pouring water out into the soil. And so, every year now I go back and I check, I do a test at the beginning of the season, check my sprinklers. But then this year I'm cutting back on using my sprinklers as much as I possibly can because I just, those water bills, they can really, really add up. And I've actually, when the outside faucets, I have had a bad habit of, leaving those slightly trickled as well. So those are definitely lessons learned the hard way to make sure that those faucets are cut off. And we just resolved as well in our guest bathroom. We realized recently that the shower when you turn the shower head on, even though water was coming out of the shower, it was still dripping out of the faucet. And it seemed like more water was going out the faucet than the shower head. So that was money being wasted. So we actually spent the money, had our plumber come repair that so that when people are here and we have guests and they used our guest shower, that there's no waste of water because the water is now, running like it should. So, um, I would make a joke and say, we could thank someone, about making sure that the water is the faucets are dripping correctly. And getting all that water pressure now that that's been fixed. But I'll digress there and leave that as a as a joke. Anything else, Misi or uh,
I got kids. It's an uphill battle with that thermostat, so it is what it is.
yeah, very true. Another good point for saving money is, we did this years ago, which has saved us so much money over time. But refinancing loans is also a good way to get. I know mortgage rates are kind of in a weird space right now. But for those of who don't have a low mortgage rate, make sure you're watching those mortgage rates regularly. And as soon as the opportunity comes for you to refinance to get a lower mortgage rate, absolutely take advantage of that. That's something that we did, a few years ago, and I can't tell you. And we locked in at that lower rate, and I'm so glad that we did because now, it not only lowered our monthly mortgage payment, but over the course of years, it's saving us so much money by doing that refinancing. And you could even I'm fortunate, we don't have car payments over here. We paid off our cars and, not looking to buy any new ones anytime soon. So, but, you can also, if you have a really high car payment, you've paid it down, you can refinance those auto loans. Although my recommendation is always to, if you can, save up money, try to pay off that car as soon as you possibly can and not have a car payment because, again, not having a car payment is been huge on us saving some money. So Yeah. Anything else anybody wants to add on those? Some generic money saving tips.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will say this, Kenneth, that you showed me when discussed paying your car off and everything, and I was actually able to accomplish that. It gives you a sense of accomplishment, and then you're able to exhale a little bit when you know those monthly bills are coming in every month. And
Yes,
then
that's
now
something you
because
and I
it's
talked
paid
about
off,
pretty
then
regularly.
my car insurance rates have gone lower as well.
Yeah, I mean that's so key. That's
So
something you and I talked about. That's something I learned the hard way as well. Is making sure that we cut out those monthly payments. Having a no car payment is brilliant. And then the other thing I learned is to you know not everybody can, and I certainly get that. But credit card interest rates are so incredibly high right now. And we kind of have a rule in our household here that we don't like to pay interest, so we do our best to pay our credit cards. We shop on our credit cards. We pretty much put everything on the credit cards, but then we just pay them off at the end of the month, so that we're not paying interest. But then we're also getting points by using the credit cards, and then we can take those points and put towards, you can put them towards your bill, or you can even, some of the credit cards that we have, we get points for travel, and we use them for travel and things like that. But the key point there is that interest is not your friend. No matter where you look at it, any interest that you're paying is money that's not being put in your savings account. So where you can pay off those credit cards,
that was one
like I
of the
said, not everybody
determining
can do
factors
that.
too, that I want to just go ahead and pay my vehicle off because the interest rate, it seems like so much money was going towards your interest rate. And man, so I just was like, I've got to pay this car off.
Yeah.
And then actually, when you
All
pay it
right.
off, you do save.
Hey man, yes, I'm telling you, it's the best thing I ever learned. So the next tip that we have, which is this one is kind of a good one, funny but good, is drive less. I know that seems like a weird way to save money, but the truth of the matter is that you can drive less, especially with gas. If gas is wrecking your monthly budget, consolidate errands. Make sure that if you got to go to the store, that you're running all your errands at the same time, and not using making unnecessary trips when you don't have to. I am not a fan of public transportation, but some people have to use that. That I certainly use it when I need to, but you can also, especially if you live in a in a metropolitan city, use that public transportation where you can to save money on driving. And then we already kind of talked about that as well, is using those cashback money apps, gas apps, to help you save money in terms of gas expense as well. um, Keisha, anything to add on
I
kind
know.
of like that drive less? Go ahead, Missy.
Internet.
Oh, I think there might be. Go ahead.
Are you
I
talking to
think I'm
me?
having some. Oh, I thought you were saying something. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying something. So, so with my insurance, um, my car insurance is through Farm Bureau. So there's an app, and it tells you like if you drive certain times of the night, certain times of the day, if you hard brake or whatever. That and so I and it's an app on your phone. It tells you, and then you're not supposed to pick up your phone when you're driving. Like you get better rates when you do all of that. And I said all that to say, like I try to fill up only every 2 weeks, and I'm just like $70 is my limit of what I will put in my gas tank per month because I'm like I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and it's just another way of saving. You watch your driving with your insurance app. It helps your rates and it lowers your insurance. And so, yeah.
yeah. I've heard about those apps that insurance companies offer, where they watch your driving, and the better you drive, the less your rates are. But I wasn't a fan of Big Brother tracking tracking me in the
But
car.
honestly, everything is tracking you now.
True that.
And
Very
it
true.
just is what it is. So
Yeah, very
I can
true.
say something right now, and then later on, it's on my phone, and I'm like, the phone's been listening.
Yeah, yeah, very true. I think another good point there, and when you talk about insurance, is also you can save money on your insurance by going for a higher deductible. Higher deductible equals lower premiums, but you just got to make sure that you have enough money in your savings to pay that deductible should you need it. But on the flip side, one of the things that we did was both of the vehicles that we own are older vehicles, 10 years now. And they're very good cars. They run good. We keep them maintenance, and that they run well. But this year, because we needed to save money, my insurance rates were just still, even though our cars were paid off, our cars are older. I shopped around, the insurance was still really high. And so because our cars were paid off, I said, you know what, we are taking a risk by doing it, but we've not had any accidents and God, well, not any, in a very long time, or I can remember that. I mean, I think I was in my, 20s or 30s when I had an accident the last time, but we basically switched to comprehensive only for now, until the dust settles on our finances. Potentially when I'm back working, we'll look at maybe increasing that. But because our cars are so old, um, the value of them isn't much more than what we would have, for deductible, or so we just basically went for comprehensive only. It is a bit of a risk, but that's something that you can do if you drive an older model car, it's paid off, then certainly switch it to comprehensive only is an option to help save that monthly um, um, out monthly monthly spending. So yeah.
Right.
Keisha, anything else from you on that topic?
No, I mean you all had some really really good points. I do participate in the app from my insurance, my motor vehicle insurance, and I've seen that my rates have dropped because the household is using the app. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it is a good app to use. As long as I do have a tendency to hit that accelerator sometimes. So, um, I probably that's why I haven't done it, because I don't think get very much use from it, because I tend to hit that accelerator too hard. Not in the hard braking part, but anyway, good points, guys. Moving on to the next topic, which is point six, tip six, which is stop the impulse buying. I think that that's one of the things that was a huge cost saving for us. When we were both working and making, really good money, we would just buy things, not necessarily because we needed it, because we wanted it, and so we did a lot of impulse buying. And I realized, since I've been out of work, and really we've had to cut back on those expenses, that the impulse buying in our household has pretty much stopped. Like, we no longer shop on the, on the on the A website. We kind of ended our subscriptions for that big shopping platform, just because it was so easy to go in there and hit click send, and get things delivered at home. So that was our biggest weakness, was impulse buying. So we just kind of making sure that if we don't need it, we ain't buying it. And a good tip there is, as well, is if you think you need it, put it in your cart for a week or 2 weeks. And if you haven't felt the need or the desire for that, then maybe you actually don't need that. So just buy things if you're really in the position of having to really save money. The impulse buying will definitely help you save money. And that also comes to back to point one, which is track your expenses. Because if you're tracking your expenses, you can see where that money is going. And if you're wasting money on impulse buying, then that's something that you have, physical proof to say, okay, I need to stop spending money on XYZ.
I applaud your willpower.
Yes,
right,
yes, very true. Yes, very true.
that is
That
the
impulse
hard
buying will
thing,
get you
the impulse buying.
every time.
Because there's about 800 items in my shopping cart.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Same,
not quite that
same.
bad.
It's yeah, but I there's ways that I save on that app. So
Very true. All right. The next tip seven, really quickly, we're gonna move on. Is buying generic brands. We kind of touched base on that earlier. Actually, I don't know that that's the right. Whoops, I think that's the wrong topic there. It actually should be um,
we
do it yourself.
talked about that.
DIY. Sorry, yes, yeah, but it was DY. The next, sorry about that. It's DIY. Uh, uh, doing it yourself to save money. And what we're talking about there is, so for example, the biggest expense, or not the biggest, but one expense that I was paying monthly was as I was having someone to cut our yard every 2 weeks. And so that was money that I was spending, you know, having somebody come in to do that work for me. But then I realized that I needed to really save that money because that was, and this happened way before, I was laid off of my job. It was just one of those expenses. I'm like, why am I paying somebody to come and cut my yard? I'm not crippled. I'm able to do that. So do it yourself. And so that's what I started doing. And that saved me so much money just cutting the yard myself. And the truth of the matter is that after doing it, or have been doing it for as long as I have, it actually is my Zen moment. Like I'll just put on my headphones, and there's something therapeutic about cutting in straight lines and going back and forth. And so I actually have found that I actually love doing the yard work. It's a task, especially where we are, because it gets really, really hot in the summer. So you have to get up early in the morning sometimes, but it's still something that I enjoy doing. And I certainly enjoy that money that I'm not spending on having somebody come in to do that. And that goes for, you can use that for gardening or for house cleaning. And even, there are now so many tutorials out there on YouTube about how to make gifts on a budget. So you can even do some DIY gifting if you're creative enough, and have the time to watch some YouTube tutorials. You can even do some DIY there. So Keisha, your thoughts on DIY, do it yourself? DIY, I'm saying that wrong, aren't I?
Yeah, I mean, I think, home projects are great. It gives you a time to kind of de-stress, somewhere, but, if you're trying to do home improvements around the house, YouTube is great. Google is better. So that it's just and when you complete the project, it's a sense of accomplishment, right? I
Yeah.
did this, or we did this, as a family. So I do believe that DIY projects are good, and it's a good way of saving money.
Yeah. All right. Moving swiftly along. And by the way, I kept realizing I was saying that wrong. It's DIY, do it yourself. And I was thinking I was saying DYI or something. So anyway, and I had to change the subject line there. But yeah, of course, it's do it yourself. Anything that you are doing, anything you can do yourself and stop having to pay someone to do it is certainly the best way to save money. There are obviously some things that I cannot do. I am not a plumber. I'm not an electrician, so I leave that to the professionals. But the simple things, landscaping, gardening, even house cleaning. At one point we had a housekeeper that was coming on a regular basis, just to kind of help with those, spots in those areas that we don't like to necessarily clean all the time. But we stopped doing that as well, and started doing it ourselves, because and so now we do our deep cleans ourselves, because it's just better than paying someone that monthly expense for house cleaning. So, all right. The next tip 8, is buying secondhand, but better. So, you know, I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like to buy secondhand, myself included sometimes. But there are certainly some very good tips for saving money by buying secondhand. You've got places, like Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or some of the other platforms that are out there where you can save, 50 to 70% off retail on some really high quality items if you shop around. So there are some online apps that kind of can help with that and help you find, even on Nextdoor, which is a huge platform. A lot of people are selling things on Nextdoor. So, sometimes if you need something, you need to replace a big appliance. Sometimes it's good to go to those thrift stores or online marketplaces, or your neighborhood, to buy secondhand on furniture and appliances if if you need to, because appliances are a huge cost, that you have to spend. So, Keisha, any tips from you on buying secondhand?
Oh yeah, a good thrifting or a garage sale. Actually, my neighborhood is doing a neighborhood garage sale this weekend, so there's some really good buys, good finds that you can find.
Yep.
Facebook Marketplace, yes, next door. It's funny that you say next door. I saw something on Nextdoor just yesterday evening. One of my neighbors, washer and dryer, nothing wrong
Mm.
with it. They put it out on the curb and said it's free for whoever gets it.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's a big ticket item.
Yeah.
That I'm sure whatever family picked that up, they can certainly appreciate that. But definitely thrifting and garage sales, and it doesn't, even in the grocery store, you don't necessarily have to get the name brand. You can get the store brand, and it tastes
Absolutely.
just as good. So, yeah,
Absolutely. We do that a lot here. So, and don't forget also, not necessarily it's not buying secondhand, but let's not forget our low budget stores. You've got, stores like
yes,
Ross, Burlington, Kohl's, Macy's has sales all the time. And I think one of the things that Macy's does really well, is they have those sales off season sales. So, you can buy right now, it's getting ready to be summertime, but they probably have some major deals on winter clothes. So, you can actually buy now at a very good discount, some really good stuff, buying off season. It may be next, you may be behind a season, but let's come on. It's fashion is what you make it. So, there's nothing wrong with, buying your seasonal wear off season. So,
So I have a tip.
sure.
So
absolutely,
of course,
absolutely.
thrifting is my speed. I love thrifting, but because prom season just passed for my daughter, I have about 12 dresses here that I will put on consignment, and so I will get paid for those dresses. So yeah, so if you have certain things that people are looking for, like there is a store here called Plato's Closet, they will buy your clothing as well. And
Okay.
so not just going out and buying things, you can actually go through your closet and make a little bit of money off of it as well.
Yeah, true. I've heard of that. I've never done that, put stuff on consignment, but I've heard that there are people that can do that. If you do that, or you can post it on like Nextdoor or other apps and sell them. Facebook Marketplace is I've sold stuff on Facebook Marketplace, which was amazing. So, and it was a good experience. Again, tip there, if you are selling stuff on Facebook or on a neighborhood platform, make sure that you are meeting that person in a public space. Make sure you don't do it alone. Just those kind of
Yeah,
tips for making sure that you don't find yourself in trouble, because we have
right.
heard of out there in the news some scams that have happened, or things that are not necessarily,
Absolutely.
yeah, good things
I
that
always meet at the police department. If you don't come meet me at the police department, you shady already.
okay. Sure. Oh. All right. Our next tip is, one that's kind of, I can say I don't do, but I've read a lot about it, and that is to use cash. I don't carry a lot of
Why did your
cash.
face do that?
Say what?
Why did your face do that when you was like, I don't cash? Oh, that's beneath me.
Well, no, I'm saying that is that like we just don't carry cash. We have debit
I
cards.
know.
We put most everything on our credit cards, and so we just don't have cash. We just never use cash. Unless it's someplace where like the place where I get my hair cut. They only take cash, so I'll have to go to the cash store, to the bank and withdraw money to pay, pay for cash for that. But everything else we kind of put on a credit card, so we track it through that way. But again, what thing that I've read and doing some kind of research behind some of these tips is that a proven way to save money is to pay cash, because if you're paying cash, you tend to spend less. That's a research, again, I can't remember the source, but that's just like something that I read where it's proven that if you pay cash, you spend less. So I can't say that from experience, but I think the tip there is that if you pay with cash, um, you basically take what you need for the week and say your budget for the week is $200. You take that $200 out of the bank and you have it in cash. You pay everything with cash, but then once that cash is gone, it's gone, and you can't spend anything else for the week. So it kind of helps you minimize doing that wasteful spending or buying things that you don't need by paying with cash, because it's another way to kind of track what you spend. I don't know, any tips there, Keisha, from you on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go old school. I'm gonna go old school. When you pay with cash, you tend to get change back, right? So therefore, that's another opportunity for you to save. You can take that change and stick it away in a jar somewhere. And over time, the 15 cent, the 4 cent, the 5 cent, that will add up. And
Very
before
true.
that, at the end of the year, that could turn into you know something that you've been wanting to purchase, or you just have that extra cash flow on hand, that could potentially turn into hundreds of dollars just from your loose change,
Yeah.
Yeah,
from you
yeah,
cash.
very true, very true. And I think the note that I'm looking at here for myself is that research shows that 15 to 20 that people spend 15 to 20% less when they use cash versus credit cards. So again, no experience in that for myself. Maybe when I was in my 20s and didn't have credit cards, but um, um, now that's different for me. But again, it's just another good tip for saving money. Missy, was you going to say something, my queen of couponing?
Well, just to piggyback on what Miss Keisha was saying, that's what we do. If we do go out and spend cash, then we take that change and we put it away. And then also if we have ones, because like she does Instacart. So when DoorDash comes, we have that change, the dollar bills, to be able to tip them. Because a lot of times they don't really get all that tip that you put on the app. So we tip additionally at the door.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, very good point there. So our last point here is to find free entertainment. Now, this is something I've been very good at lately, because we have not had the budget to go out, and we don't go out to eat as much as we used to. And so what we find ourselves doing now is, spending more time. We spend time with some of our friends in the neighborhood. Where we live, we have some really good neighbors, and so our weekend entertainment sometimes is going over to their house and having a happy hour or having drinks, or we do a potluck dinner sometimes, and be silly and watch crap TV, at our neighbor's house. So that's like total free entertainment there. I even said today, we have a friend we're going to. This is bad but true, because this is unscripted. So we have a friend that's having a birthday party, and they're having the event catered. I'm like, ooh, I'm having a light lunch because we're gonna eat good.
Okay.
So that's bad, but hey, truth. That's truth. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a light lunch because our friends are having a birthday party, and we won't go empty-handed, of course, but we will have a nice
How
dinner.
why that gift? Did you hear me,
Right.
Kenneth?
That DIY, yes, that does. Yes, I actually, one of the things I've done. So again, another cost saving tip is that I have bought before. I bought some things for the household that I bought in bulk, and so I have some extra things laying around that I can use to gift. It's not a regift because they're brand new. For example, various candles and things like that. I bought some of those when I've seen them on sale. And I have one candle that I absolutely love. It's my absolute favorite. And so anytime saw them on sale, I would buy multiple of them. And so I have some of them. We use them around the house, so we keep them in. I keep them in stock because when they burn out, you replace it. But they're such good candles, and they're not cheap candles. So I use those sometimes as a gift. So somebody will be getting a candle for their birthday today. Anyway, anything else to add on the free entertainment? I know Keisha, you've got kids. Misa, you've got kids. Things like
Yeah.
community activities or
So,
parks, movie nights.
yeah. So what I found is getting on Facebook and connecting with your city, and they tell you all the free events that go on in your city. Um, and it's very useful, and you can go push up in there with kid friendly everything, and yeah.
Yeah, very true. Keisha, from your side.
We do a lot of game nights at home. If it's a
Oh,
deck
that's
of
good.
cards, Uno, or just, and that gives that family opportunity to sit down and have a good time together. So I agree. Um, you know, Subscribing to your local Facebook channel for whatever your city, and being able to find those free opportunities outside. But
Yeah.
then it's okay to stay home, and
Yeah.
have a game night or two.
Yeah, very true, very true. And then there's also, picnics in the park. I mean,
Yeah.
right now we're in spring, so it's a good time to be outside before it gets too hot. But yeah, picnics in the park. You go to the grocery store, you buy what you need. Include that in your weekly shop. Plan ahead. But there's nothing wrong with a simple picnic in the park. Sandwiches and a salad, or some fruit or something like that. So is a good way to just kind of have some good entertainment. And I know where we live, there are times quite often where there's live entertainment at one of the local parks here, where they do regular live entertainment, and you see people out there all the time with their picnics baskets. They got their blankets, their pillows, and they relax and sometimes see a nice free concert and have a picnic outside. So there's multiple ways that you can save money in terms of free entertainment. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. And again, the most, like Keisha, you put it there, game night at home. There's that is a really easy way to save money. Reach out to your neighbors. Hey, you want to come over, or you want to have a game night, and maybe do something like that with your neighbors on a regular basis, so that you are having that fun entertainment, but then not having to spend a lot of money going out to do it.
Yeah, and a lot of those events are pet friendly too. So you're getting out and you're getting your pet out, and you're
Yeah,
meeting new people.
Yeah.
very true. Well, that takes us to the end of our tips there. Anything else to add? Well, so a quick recap, again, track your money, cut unnecessary expenses, do smart grocery shopping, plan ahead, couponing, lowering your monthly bills, unplugging things, and making sure that you're maximizing savings on your electricity bill. Drive less, find ways, use gas apps, and consolidate trips. And then also avoiding impulse buying, which again was a big weakness for a number of us. And also DIY, DIY more. Cut your grass, or do your garden.
DIY.
Yeah, D
DIY.
DIY, DIY. Do it yourself. um, you can also shop secondhand, and using cash, and then also the last one there, finding some free fun. So these are just some of the few. If you start with just one or two of these are just some few tips that if you start doing them, start with one or two, you'll certainly start feeling the difference. Any money that you save, be smart, tuck that away and put it away in a savings account if you can. So my call to action here is which cost saving tip will you try first? So, drop it in the comments. Let us know if any of these tips were helpful. Try some of them out. Let us know if they've worked for you, or if you are using some of these already. Let us know. We'd be happy to discuss it further on another live episode. Make sure you again hit that like button, subscribe for more money saving tips, and feel free to share this video with friends or family who are in a pinch and also need help saving money. So with that said, we certainly thank you guys for watching. Thank you, my queen of couponing, my sis, for jumping on and sharing some valuable tips as well. Jeffrey, thank you for joining. Just remember, saving money isn't about sacrifice; it's about taking control of your future. So saving money is big, especially right now in these tough economic times. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. All right. Thanks, everybody.